Okay.
Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this session is another session of our game of Hearts of Yokai, which is a PbtA hack drawing on a number of different PbtA games, including Hearts of Wulin, The Veil, Urban Shadows, Masks, and wherever else I could thieve from, quite honestly. And the setting itself is heavily inspired by Changing the Lost, but also other kinds of taken to another place and come back changed fiction, like Die, like isekai, all those kinds of things. So we take up in the very early hours of the morning of July, January 1st, 1999. And after the events at the end of that celebration, that prophecy that echoed out, things got very quiet. A bunch of people left because when that kind of stuff gets said, that kind of magic gets invoked, that kind of thing gets prophecies get put, yokai flee because they're not sure what's going to happen next. Uh, and the various court people would have mingled or been talking, and then the people kind of would have been sent on their way. But it would have been difficult for all of you to kind of get back to your home through the kind of drunken late night streets of Mobile. But what I'm going to say is, I want to say that we've established that you all have been here for less than a year and back in this world for less than a year. So you arrived at the beginning of 98 or sometime in that early part of it. And found your way and kind of, as we said, made a bond with one another. That's a little unusual amongst yokai. Uh, Yokai sometimes do come together and form a band, form a crew, but often that's about the particular court that they come from, like people of the same court joining together, or the kind of yokai, like wildlings living together and things like that. So you are a little unusual for that diversity of things. But you have been installed in a basically a boarding house, a little boarding house, apartment house, one of those places that maybe was supposed to be like a managed apartment building, but somebody bought it out when it went bankrupt. And it has a pool out back that has never been filled. And it's got a couple of apartments that people are clearly using as offices. And then, each of you have your own kind of spaces and rooms there. Uh, Tell me something else about this apartment place, Mr. Suit.
And where in the city did you say it is? I'm sorry.
So I imagine we're probably a uh, good bit north of downtown. We're kind of on that edge where people are still saying, "Oh, we're downtown," but you're not really downtown, but they're still labeling the businesses as downtown. But between a couple of different sort of long into neighborhoods.
I think it's like a brick factory or plant that's been turned into like loft apartments.
Okay. Yeah. It used to be a factory. They had industrial there. They turned it over, and I'm sure they did really excellent cleanup of the place. And then it tried to be managed apartments, and now it's just kind of a weird bad boarding house. There's probably when it gets really humid, the smell of the old plant kind of lifts up through and gets in everything that you own. Now not that that bothers you, Lily Smith suit.
The smell of foundry is very familiar for some reason. I don't like to think about it that hard, but it doesn't bother me.
Tell me something else about this apartment that makes it unusual or unique that
I think that the owner makes most of his money off of the laundromat, which is what he did with the laundry building that was supposed to be the shared like laundry facilities for the managed apartments. He actually made it a commercial laundromat, like moved a few more things in. And and I think that like when we met, we didn't live in this building, but we all came to this laundromat, and that's how we actually met each other, was like at the laundromat. Like all of us washing the one suit of clothes we had, that kind of thing.
mm-hmm.
And so it was like, you kind of recognize each other by the sort of strange absolute lack of actual things to launder except now. So that's what I'm thinking, is that there's like a laundromat in the basement that has like a thing that's open to the public, and people come in from
the actual apartments that are kind of on the floors above that, the walls tend to get wet, especially because the venting is not great from the dryers and stuff. Marrow, I believe you are Marrow.
Oh, yes, I'll change that.
What's another good or bad feature of this place?
The sixth floor, or what we presume should be the sixth floor, there's no button on the elevator, and if you go up the stairs, there's no door to go off on it.
Yeah, you're not sure what's up with that, whether that's just from the old factory days or whatnot. It is possible to climb a ladder outside the building up onto the roof that is just above that, but there's not even any roof access way down to that sixth floor. You're not sure if it's
So
bricked in.
we're saying it's not like that it goes from 5 to 7. It's that there is space enough for a floor that doesn't seem accessible.
Yeah.
Neat.
Aldo, what's unique or interesting about the neighborhood right around this building?
Trying to think of the word. There's a word for it. There are 3 different people who are trying to start like little urban gardens, and they're competing with each other.
There's some space by the pool that used to be kind of walk around grass. There's some space out by the dumpster, and there's probably what would have been a front lawn at some point. And they've all got their thing, all with little signs, keep out, all of that kind of thing.
But like, this is the soil on an old foundry.
Yes.
It is the worst soil you can try to grow anything in ever. The grass doesn't even grow here.
Well, potash is supposed to be good,
not pure potash.
There's like no nitrogen in it whatsoever.
So I like to imagine that, it's a cool night. Again, 40, probably been like 50, 60 degrees out in, January. Cool. You're out kind of seated on these scratchy lawn chairs that are out by the empty pool. And the 4 of you kind of taking stock of what happened tonight. And Mr. Suit, what was the last thing that was said to you before they kind of pushed you all out the door?
It was very quiet. That's what it was.
Fair enough.
I think it was from somebody like one of the hands who was admonishing people that, like, talking about this sort of stupid prophecy thing that always just makes it worse, that always just drives it in hard. Just stop talking about it, just don't think about it, just go home. It's fine, it's nothing, it wasn't even a thing, we're not talking about it now, why are you still here?
Nice, nice. I like that. And Lily, how did you realize, how did you know that of the dukes, your duke, Shining Cellar, seemed the least surprised by this? What told you that? Either by the prophecy itself or by this person coming up and giving this prophecy or something else? Like what did that, how did you know?
So I think that it was weird. It was like there was a signal that she gave, and Drummond and a couple of the other officers, they looked like surprised at what had happened, but they clearly had instructions. And they went out and they handed mistletoe to all of the members of the court.
Very quietly, very quickly distributed that out as you made your way out. So when we do come to Marrow, is it? Seated there with your compadres here, what is it that you are saying? What reaction are we learning here?
I misspelled my name.
Barak.
That's intense, isn't it? I think Marrow's kind of let's see. I don't know. Is it traditional that they have a dire prophecy at these end of the year parties?
I don't think so. No one said thing was going to be like that. Mostly they talked about all the different liquors there were to try.
Well, everybody acts surprised, but their surprises and their surprises, it's mirrors, it's New Year's, they're traditions that you prepare for and traditions that no one talks about.
So you think this was planned, expected?
Maybe more the second than the first.
Oh, it seemed like, I mean, as far as prophecies go, it wasn't. It was pretty awful. All of the court going to be destroyed and destruction, fire. That
They said
seemed bad.
change more than anything else.
Change means destruction for people like us. We live on the outsides of things.
You're very wise, I think.
Mr. Suit is sitting there. He is like held together by pure willpower. I think his eyes look very strained, and he's got a drink in his hand. It's after party, it's nightcap time, so at least he can drink straight liquor, so that's nice. But he's got this like white knuckled grip around this glass, and he keeps looking like he's gonna just shoot the whole thing straight back. And as soon as it gets to his lips, he takes like a perfectly measured, polite sip, and puts it back down and looks sort of disappointed.
Aldo, what's your take on this?
Uh, did did anybody say like who the person was that?
I didn't know them.
Think they're currently someone I've seen in any of the courts. I've seen a lot of the courts. I like to go visit people. But never seen anyone, but no one said a name. No one said, hey, so and so, why are you saying this thing?
It was kind of like the witch from Cinderella sort of moment, wasn't it? You know, oh, destruction and walking in to spoil the party.
Hmm. Interesting.
Surely parents will be able to handle this, though. I mean, it's kind of their job, right?
I mean, how did they
Sure.
act when that happened? Like, other than, you know,
Yeah, bro. How did I mean? I probably would look to my Baron. What was the reaction? Was it shock and horror? You kind of mentioned one Baron, but
And yours is your lanterns, right?
I'm lanterns.
Uh Bane, Becky. Well, let's have you make a study roll in the chaos of this.
Okay. This probably would have been fear.
Okay.
That makes sense. And 11.
An 11. So that gives you 2 hold, I believe. And you can ask a question or make a declaration. Is your first question, how did they react?
Yes.
Okay. And then you can decide whether you want to add a detail or whether you want to ask another question. I think they seem genuinely shocked. Like genuinely shocked and shaken, looking to their hand, who kind of came up to kind of stand behind them. And they pulled themselves together fairly quickly because that's what dukes do. But you definitely caught a moment of them being freaked out by this.
I'm going to add a detail.
Okay.
Um, as they're, and it's Bayman that's the hand, I believe.
Yeah.
As they're conferring, I think I see the Baron speaking to Bayman, and I can kind of make out, is this time? Is this really the time?
Interesting. I think there is a bit like the kind of a fall into silence amongst the 4 of you, and then probably that sense that, okay, I think each of us needs to go in our kind of our separate ways to crash or do whatever we do to unwind. Um Mara, what do you do? Do you just crawl into bed, or do we see you doing something else?
I imagine that it's big chunky headphones, sitting up in bed, a bit of The Cure playing, and smoking a clove.
Okay. And Aldo, what about you?
I go up to my room and I get a book.
Okay.
And the thing is, it doesn't actually matter what this book is. It just needs to have words in it. It in fact, it is the dictionary. It is the freaking Oxford English Dictionary. It's yay thick, you know. um, uh, Sit down and start like just turn to any random page and start reading out loud from it very quietly.
Nice. And Mr. Suit, how do you put yourself away for the night?
I was thinking about it because I think he finds like he has like a private club or something that he got himself into pretty quickly after coming back. But it's Mobile, Alabama, so it's probably like the Masons or the Shriners or something like that.
Yeah.
But they do have a private club and people old enough to appreciate good alcohol, and so I think you see him, yeah, W, oh God, but you see him there like late into the night. There's
Yeah,
some
it's 4 o'clock in the
poker
morning.
game that's going on. That's like a weekly thing there that he's sitting in and only just like half paying attention to as he works his way through as many glasses as he can, one polite sip at a time.
Nice. And Lydia, what do you do here on this New Year's Eve morning at 4 a.m.? Do you turn in? Do you do something else?
No, this was supposed to be an exciting night full of fun. So I think I'd go out to the faux balcony that we have. That's like literally what, 2 feet and a railing, you know? And I
Briefly listen to the sound of gunshots and fireworks in the distance.
exactly. And then I essentially greet all the passerbys that happen to be going by with Happy New Year. And you know, if they'll chat with me, she just hangs on the balcony and sort of talks to everyone as they go by.
Occasionally, someone leans out of another apartment. Shut the fuck up!
Oh, you. Not like you have to work tomorrow.
I know.
What do you do?
God. And so we cut forward a few days, and as was kind of put out there by the people as you left, nobody's talking about that. That isn't like it. No one has said explicitly to anybody, don't talk about it, but people are avoiding the topic. I'm going to come back to that in a second. I'm going to start. Mr. Suit, would you please roll me a D100 and a D6?
What wild arcane nonsense is this?
Okay.
Oops, I have to put in a name. They don't even make D100s on here, lol.
Yes, they do. Oh, no, you don't. I guess they don't.
Oh,
yes, there is.
little
There's a
green
button for one.
it, yeah. That's an 18.
Okay.
And then, oh, I have to hit another button for that. More buttons. A 6.
A 6. Okay. What's the thing over this next week that is kind of in the news about a piece of like city infrastructure that has broken down? Like, is it water? Is it sewers? Is it like streets? Is it the causeway? Something else?
I think it's a bridge, like
Okay.
a big major bridge that's, the metal in it has corroded
Yeah.
away.
The biggest bridge is the one across the bay. You can still go across via the causeway, but one of the lanes, westbound, has bent, and they really shouldn't be letting anybody drive on it right now, but they still are because it's such a major artery. They are trying to keep it down to one lane traffic to reduce things.
You know, for safety.
Yeah. But the city's out there. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is out there. There are boats on the bay. You know, it's a whole big mess, and all the traffic that is already kind of tight and congested around that in the morning just gets worse. Much worse. Sherry, would you roll me a D100 and a D6? You are muted.
I'm sorry, and I spoke so clearly to you. I rolled an 89 and then I rolled a 5.
89 and 5. Which yokai have you heard has gotten called out, challenged in a formal duel by one of the goblins?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Let's see here. We've got some names that we've established. Is there someone who looks like this would be just how their day would go? Oh, I just think that it's wisdom whales. Not
Wisdom
Wyndham
whales?
whales, wisdom whales.
Wisdom
yeah.
whales? Have you heard anything about what happened that they got called out for this formal duel?
I think that it's for scavenger rights.
Okay. They are pretty territorial. The goblins, they want what they can keep. And Marrow, let's have you roll a D100 and a D6.
Did we say there was a D100?
Mm-hmm. 1D100.
Okay.
No?
39 and 3.
3.
Lots of divisions of 3.
What like urban like refuge is currently kind of under siege in the city? Is it a homeless shelter? Is it a, a YWCA? Is it a park where the homeless crash? Is it something else? One of these places that kind of serves as a fallback point for people who maybe don't have other places to go, that is currently kind of being targeted probably by the city itself or by the local merchants or things.
Okay. I think that it is the I think it's like a veterans retirement community.
Okay.
Probably a building rather than like since we're in more of a city area, but it's for low income, no other option sort of veterans retirement area.
Yeah. And you would know, you've heard, is that apparently the VA has done some budget cuts and restructuring, and this place has kind of lost its stipend. And it's
Damn you, Newt Gingrich.
yeah, yeah. It is contract with America. And they are, yeah, it hasn't gone up, but the vultures are circling. The developers are circling because it's an old,
Right, prime real estate
yeah,
sort of spot.
yeah, old, built in the 1940s, after the war, has been around, a good area, and you know, they're kind of pushing that NIMBY attitude for people to kind of make that as the cutting edge of this. So you'll hear about that. And that's kind of symptomatic of, we talked about the fact we set up the city. The city has a lot of like kind of slow burning social tensions. And that's clearly like the reason you're hearing about it is because there's starting to be a flashpoint between developers and locals and activists, and that's the big thing. And then Aldo, let's have you roll a D100 and a D6.
43 and 1.
43 and 1. So one of the things I note is on your character is that you cover a neighborhood, and
Yeah.
you can pick up things from that. You can hear things. Uh, uh, who or what is and it doesn't have to be part of any of those four groups that we've established. It might be something else, but a non-yokai supernatural that maybe have coffee with every once in a while or chat with. That doesn't, it can be one of those four, it could be something completely different.
We actually have already established somebody.
Okay.
That I hang out with, even though she is an enemy of the courts. Curia Vervain, the witch.
That's right. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. So I imagine that you're in a very old school, like, it's not exactly a diner, but it's got a little breakfast place, but it's also a coffee place, and it's one of those local things. There's a lot of handmade stuff for sale on the front counters, and the big board with lots of business cards and flyers hung up on it. It's got a little tiny stage that can fit one person in the corner with like 3 lights and a thing. And this is the kind of place that you meet up with Curia, and she will say, I understand that things were a little chaotic at your yokai gathering.
I mean, it was pretty normal up until the whole somebody appeared and prophesied the end times, I guess.
Interesting.
But up until then, it was fine. Like that was weird. It just came out of the blue. Do you know anybody like that might have been? Because I haven't heard any names.
No, I try to stay out of your people's business.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's probably a good decision.
I ask about it because I heard that there was another gathering, a little more upscale gathering. The five, the old ones, they had their New Year's meeting at one of their mansions. A bloody and horrible kind of thing, given their natures, as you can imagine. But I don't know the full details on this yet. But one of the five, Rodrigo, apparently something occurred, and apparently it is open season on him now. That the other four of the five have started effectively hunting him. Within the next few days, a number of his business interests and things were shut down, a number of his resources were cut off, and word has it on the street that that he is a persona immortal non grata.
Wow, that I mean, I didn't know that would happen, but now that I'm, yeah, obviously that kind of thing happens. Is this gonna?
It hasn't happened in my memory, and I've been in the city a long time. The five have been here longer. Some of them, as I understand it, date back to before the war, the Civil War, and even earlier.
See, that actually surprises me because, like, I don't know, it just seems like they would be fighting all the time. I'm glad they're not. So I guess that means that there's no precedent to tell us like what kind of whether we're all just collateral damage
Oh,
and
they're
whatever the hell's gonna
immortals.
happen.
We are all just collateral damage, regardless of what they do.
Right. I mean, like, what,
How far they would go?
and I no, I mean, that's not so I don't put it past they would like I don't think they care at all. I think that they would go I don't think that's even a thing that applies to them. I don't think how far they would go is a concept for them.
Right.
I mean, like, what they would do as it pertains to us, like from our point of view.
I don't know. It is as you
Like, are
say.
we talking nuking the city, that level of
I don't think
destruction?
so. These are people that enjoy continuity and stability. They claim a certain amount of hedonism in the name of not being bored, but at the same time, they're very conventional in wanting to keep themselves at the top of their particular castle.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And they're here. So that sort of limits what
Yeah.
they're going to do here.
I just thought I would warn you in case you were to hear if people were trying to recruit you and yours to either side. It is a dangerous thing to get involved with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Because I had not heard anything about that. And I will let the others know. I assume I will let the others know without telling them where I got the information.
That is always the case.
No, thank you. That I have no idea what that means for me, but I'm glad to know it.
Another chicory?
Yeah, because they don't sell hard liquor here.
Yeah. So I'm going to come around and I have a question for you. Each of you belongs to the courts in that you have an allegiance. The courts provide you with some things, some small amount of money. They're the people that helped you get the IDs that you needed when you arrived. They do those kinds of things. And in return, each month you have some jobs, some tasks fairly ordinary, usually, maybe some magical bits to it that you're kind of called on to perform. It doesn't eat up a lot of your time, but you've got essentially some dedicated days of service. Mr. Suit, what does the Court of Mirrors have you doing this month?
I think I've done it a couple of times so far, and it's the curse of competence.
Okay.
Like, I did it too well the first time and no one else wants it, so I keep getting assigned it. But I think the mirrors, they handle all of the like uh permitting and paperwork and sort of bureaucratic legal interacting with the city infrastructure, the state infrastructure, that the courts have to do for their various locations and buildings and things that they pay taxes on and upkeep and have permits for and things like that. And so I've somehow through random luck drawn that straw yet again.
Yeah, essentially they have a set of cars for the court that they need somebody to go down and take them in and have their inspections done. And it is the most, you have to schedule it, you have to go down there with the paperwork, you have to sit and wait. It is each one, because you can't do them in a batch, is its own little soul death of tedium.
Yeah, it's just going through the whole process and finally getting up to the window and finishing for the last time, and then having to go back to the back of the line behind the same people that I have been watching circle around this line all day.
Yeah. And then they schedule you in. You have to sit there while they do the inspection, while they run the car, all of that. And then listen to them give you the 6-point checklist on why this car has not passed inspection. And you need to take this back, and you realize that we will be back here next month.
Someone will be back here next month.
Yes. Maybe not you. Maybe.
Maybe.
Sherry, am I calling you Lily or Lydia?
Whichever.
Okay. So
I
Lily.
think Lydia is her name, but she said it to Morrow and he called her Lily, and she just would never correct Morrow.
Okay. So Lydia, what is the task this month that you are set to by the Court of Suns?
Oh, I take the baskets of joy to all the what do you say? Yokai diaspora, the ones who are not persona non grata, but are not as closely tied as perhaps would be best for all of us, so we could keep tabs on each other. So I kind of keep tabs in the way that I go and talk the ears off, and in return they get a nice basket full of treats.
Huh.
You know.
Yeah, and I do imagine the Court of Suns is the only one of the courts that actually undertakes kind of keeping track of where the courtless are, and what they're about, and giving them some sense of things. Who's the most interesting courtless? Give me a name.
Let's see here. I think that right now, the one that she's the most interested in is someone who names theirself like every month. They rename themselves, and right now they're Katamari Don Don.
Okay.
Because they played the video game in
1999.
Yeah, is that too soon? I thought that Katamari came out then.
No, sure.
Oh, geez. What would have been out?
That's Katamari is a PlayStation 2 game, so that
Oh,
is significantly later.
sorry. So what would be a game that would have been 1999? Sorry. I know Doom was out, but that's about it.
1999 video games: Ape Escape, Silent Hill, Siphon Filter, Final Fantasy VIII, System Shock, Pepsi Man, Gex 3, Deep Cover, Shenmue, Spyro 2. Spyro, okay.
Yeah, they call themselves
So
Spyro.
Okay,
Let me just show you though that when Katamari comes out, they're going to be Katamari and names.
absolutely.
So they're like probably Spyro fries. And they just name themselves after like the thing they like most that they've done, and then the thing that they like to eat the most this week.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. They're just
Absolutely. Let's say that that they are a brute.
okay.
Okay.
Yep.
There, and what have you heard about why they haven't joined or haven't been invited to join one of the courts?
I think that kind of everyone knows in some way that like they should be in broken shackles. There's like some real sympathy
Mhm.
to that, but it's what Spyro doesn't want, if that makes any sense. Doesn't want to deal with wrath at all because it's such a strong emotion for them. And they're actually kind of scared. And so that's fear is part of their thing then. But that's the thing, is that they don't like either of those courts. They don't get sons at all. They just think that they're scamming me, and that makes them happy. So it works out okay for us. I'm able to keep tabs on them. I ask them lots of questions. I play video games with them. I'm very bad at it. So
Ready Player 2. Yeah, I see. Okay. That makes sense. Morrow, what is it that you are put to task for the Court of Lanterns?
It's something that the court calls watering the garden. And it's one of the kind of true benefits of being in Lanterns. It's all of us have a little book which contains the names of the members of our court who have passed on, and some who have of other courts who, in the process of dying, did something great for Lanterns. And we go and we tend their grave, we put a flower on it, and we sit there and we speak for a moment, and ideally we will be moved to tears as we talk to them. And it is part honoring those that have passed, it's part connecting them with the court forever. But it's one of those things that you know that when your time comes, there will be someone from Lanterns that will come and remember you.
And I think that one of the things about this is this you're kind of a little bit low on in the pecking order. So because this is a thing that you have to do, you can't do this too early in the morning. You can't do this too late at night, because the ghosts are very territorial. They are really, and even when you go there during the day, you will see out of the corner of your eye things standing there watching you like a hawk, knowing what you are. And I think that is always constantly on you as you do that. Do you enjoy doing that? Do you find, does it bother you? Is it good,
I think
bad?
I do like it.
Okay.
I think that is something that I really appreciate that it happens. I know in character creation, there's the question of like your greatest fear, somewhere in there, and Barra's is that he will become a lost memory. That he just won't be, and no one will remember. And having this is such a comfort that doing it, he feels good that this is his chance to go and show that these folks are still cared about.
Excellent.
And he cries at a drop of a hat. He's a
Okay.
big crier.
Love it. And Aldo, what is the task that the Court of Lanterns puts to you this month?
I am supposed to watch one of the gates to the Undertow that has caused some concern lately.
Where is this? Like we talked about that you create the gates, you've got that, but that sometimes they rupture, they boil out into this. Where is this particular gate to the Undertow?
It's at the edge of a salt marsh. And this is it's tempting easy. There's like a little cove at the edge of the salt marsh that is it's a like it's an old like homestead, but there's nobody currently living there. Like the historical society has preserved it. The land is it's kept up, it's mowed. The house is repaired. It's got this like nice wide front porch that like sometimes local kids will just hang out on and spray paint, but they'll somebody keeps it up, they paint over it.
Right.
And the actual portal is like the back porch of this place that faces the salt marsh.
And over the couple of few times you've been out here to kind of check on things and keep an eye on this, what is the evidence you've seen that the goblins have been coming through here using this at night more actively?
So I've found fish bones, which that could be from some birds or raccoons or something. But I've also like the kids who come here do tend to litter, and it's not like kept up. Somebody doesn't come out every day to pick up the trash,
Right.
but there is never any trash here lately.
Yeah,
except for the occasional fish skeleton.
Yeah, a sure sign that the goblins are gathering up everything, hauling it in to the Undertow, burying it there in hopes that it will drift away and get washed back to them in some form. They love polluting the waters. It's what they truly enjoy. They love taking those 6-pack rings and not cutting them apart, but just throwing them in there. Let's take our first break here. Let's go till 9:50. It's about 9:41 now. And then we'll come back, okay? So before I throw anything else specifically at you, what I want to do is do a once around and give everybody a chance to do a scene with an NPC, a scene with a PC, follow up on questions, do moves, things like that. One of the things I want you to think about, everyone has a thing called drained on your character keeper. You can always mark drained when you would otherwise mark an emotion. And drained can also be paid as a cost for things like using magic or things like that. Basically, that's when you have tapped out of essentially the energy that kind of powers you as a yokai. What would be called a glamour in a changeling. And it is something that you recover by going and essentially engaging with, feeding on, interacting with emotions. And so one of the things I'll have you think about, put in the back of your mind is like, what is your favorite emotion? And like, what kind of place do you have that you go to get that? One of the things about doing that, though, is because your magic does come from the takers. You have to be very careful because it is very easy for you to also take too much from people because you are not just necessarily passively absorbing. You have to be very, very careful about that, but you can deaden a zone, deaden people for a time if you engage too deeply in that.
Can I ask a quick question
Sure.
on kind of game and world?
Yeah.
We do these tasks for the court.
Yeah.
But do we still like need to have
Jobs?
these live?
Yeah. You are given some money, but you need to figure out how you're getting by otherwise, what you're doing to support yourself.
Cool. Thank you.
Mr. Suit, what scene do you want to call? Or what do you want to do?
Yeah. So I'm curious about that part where no one knows who that was, or
No
will
one
talk
said to you
anything.
who that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of us know who that was, and no
Right.
one's talking about it. How about that?
Yeah.
So let's see. I went and talked to the Duke before, so how about the Hand of Mirrors?
Okay.
Delulu?
Yeah. Absolutely. Where is the HQ, like the offices, the seat for the Court of Mirrors?
It's a locally owned like trying to spread their brand, but sort of starting up a cosmetic company. They have like a sort of flagship store place.
And is the Court of Mirrors own that franchise, or are they just, located nearby, or what? Or do they, or is the company them?
I think they came in as like major investors. They haven't quite bought out the company, but
Okay.
they sort of like own major stakes and are influencing the course of it.
So you do have to play it a little cool when you go there and, go back to the offices that are set aside for the Court of Mirrors. And it's fairly informal there. And I think that, you know, if you talk to what's effectively the secretary slash concierge for the court, they'll direct you in to Delulu's room slash office, and
Yes,
she
he's
will.
actually called earlier this week and set an appointment.
Absolutely, absolutely. And she has, you know, a couple of vanities in here and a lot of makeup and things like that. Her skin is porcelain. Um, she reflects differently in any and all of the mirrors. Uh, it's still her, but the perspective changes in a way it shouldn't.
Oh, interesting.
And she gestures to you to sit down and says, "Is this about the car inspections?"
No, I'm sorry that's taking so long. They have new people working in the windows, and it's just been an unbelievable tangle.
No, I know you've been set to some of the more mundane tasks for a few months in a row, so I can understand if you might have some complaint about that.
It's so nice to get to know new people, isn't it?
How can I help you?
Well, I think he sort of struggles for a moment because, like, he's officially been told not to talk about this. So it's hard for him to. It's just a little thing to overcome, but it's sort of hard to for him to overcome that social moray. Um, he says, "I have found myself thinking over the past couple of days of the New Year's ritual and how that evening went, how it ended."
Mm-hmm.
With a very profound sounding person who I don't hadn't had the pleasure of. Who was that?
Let's have you roll study, and I know you've got a couple other moves that might come into play, but let's start with study here.
Sure. Let's go with anger.
Okay.
He's sort of upset by this situation and having to talk to people about things that aren't helpful, but he can't get out of his head. 7 + 1, I think, so 8.
Okay. So we'll pause and then you'll say, that person you wouldn't have seen before this. They very much keep to themselves. They are a member of the Court of Broken Shackles. They are known as Hemingway. She's not un she's not unlike your friend Marrow. Thing that has been pared down and constructed and shaped around a thing. She is an oracle, a Cassandra at times.
So she has been known to do this before?
She has been known to apprise us of disasters, but they have been things like business collapses, weather changes, raids, those kinds of things. This is something different, but she has enough of a proven track record. I'm not saying 100%, but better than guesswork and better than just making shit up.
And does she usually have such a turn towards the melodramatic?
No, as I said, she keeps to herself. Her presence there was, I think, surprising. She doesn't normally attend functions.
That does sound more like Meryl.
She is an odd one. She has been here for some time. There are rumors that she was a witch who got taken and came back, but we don't pry about people's time in the homelands or what they were before.
And the prophecy itself?
That is not a thing you need to worry your pretty little head about, dear.
It sounded worrying?
Did it sound like anything that you could do something about right now? Sugar? Because I think that the best way to handle this is to let the dukes and the hands and others, the knights, figure out what we need to do. And when we need you to do something, we'll come to you. Does it seem like you want to do something to help us out? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, I haven't dealt with many. So we should just not talk about it then.
You know what a Christian Scientist is?
I feel like you're putting capital letters on things.
Yeah, I am.
No.
Yeah, well, I'm misstating it a little bit, maybe dumbing it down a little bit, but they believe that thinking about an illness makes you have the illness, or if it have it, it makes it stronger in you. You just can't. Your will, your mind, thinking about it, talking about it, does that. Now, that's the kind of way I feel about prophecies. That's the way I feel about oracular visions. But your willingness to assist and your interest in assisting in this has been noted. I mean, look at this initiative to come here and talk to me about it like this. You're the first to do that.
Well, I just worry about the future of the courts. If there's something that's threatening the stability of them, I've only just found that.
Well, I will pass along your enthusiasm.
Thank you. This has been so reassuring to me.
Oh, I don't think it's been reassuring at all. I don't think I've reassured you one whit.
No, I was being polite in the situation. It's because you're a higher social station than I am.
It's okay. We're all fine here.
I'm going to leave now.
Be sure to take yourself a little snack pack as you go out. Got a little trial set of some new things.
Oh, I will. All right, that's some bold colors.
Bold is in this season. Uh, Lydia, what would you like to do? Who would you like to call a scene with?
Ooh, this is interesting. I like the idea that I inadvertently fell into being a substitute teacher.
Okay.
Like, yeah, like they called my number by accident for someone who was previously a substitute teacher, so I came in,
Okay.
and now I like they still call me, and I just had to go and put all my stuff in so I get this checks, and it's not bad work. Like high school is easy because you just sit there and like, make sure they don't destroy things. But what's fun is elementary school, because that stuff I can do. And I always have a good time. And particularly when I get like first grade, kindergarten, even second grade, they're still just so full of wonder, and they really like new things, and we can just have a good time together and do our lessons. And yes, and if you can't sing it, why learn it? That's the thing. So anyway, I do pretty well. And sometimes if they don't have a teaching opening, I go and I'm the lunch lady at like the things. So
Okay.
at the things. So I do that. That's what I do. And I think that after I got that job, there were some other people who were like, oh, maybe I could do that too. And weirdly, Dandy Main does it. She's a math teacher that they can call in.
Okay.
She's really good at math. Every once in a while, we run into each other.
Yeah.
In the break room.
In the break room, in the teacher's lounge. And I do think that it is that the two of you are in there, and there is that moment when another teacher comes in to maybe like come and sit, and they feel the vibe, and they turn around and exit.
Yes.
Yeah. So Dandy is looking over. Are you so it's math class, you definitely either at middle school or high school.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, middle school would be the most amazing to have Lydia Smythe Soot as your instructor. So
Dandy will look up and say, and how are you getting along?
so far, so good. And I will unpack my fabulous lunch that I've packed myself.
I see you took some extra moon pies from the party.
Those are my own moon pies.
Oh.
Didn't take anyone's moon pies.
So how are you making out with your colleagues?
She goes, and she sort of stops and she goes, you mean Waro and
Yeah.
Mr. Soup?
It's a
And Elbow?
oddball crew that you got there.
They just like cousins, people that you got an association with, but they're really their own people too.
And I heard that you got in a bit of a pickle with Semolina Pilchard.
She kind of stops. She goes, now see, what do you mean by that?
I know that maybe she's not been entirely happy with you, kind of putting the boot to you and your friend Aldo.
She sort of stops and says, I think we had a basic misunderstanding and it just keeps rolling along. I don't know what to say. I think the word is obtuse.
Well, if you need help, I would certainly be willing to help you out, do you a favor, and step in on that.
And she sort of stops and she goes, there's a part of her that's like going, oh no, I'm not gonna let you do me a favor, but she's like being very careful there. And she kind of goes, see, I recognize sometimes you get on the wrong foot with someone and you just kind of got to keep trying out a different approach until you figure it out. We don't have any real disagreement.
What you mean is you don't have any real disagreements with her.
Correct.
The vice versa. The corollary may not be true.
At some point, my tests will prove that or not.
Fair enough.
I thank you for offering your assistance. I do not know that I can afford it at this time.
That's a very observant thing to say.
You have a strong sense of worth. I respect that.
She pauses. You see her try to parse that for a bit, and she'll nod. She finishes her carefully cut sandwiches, and stands up. And I do think there is a moment when you do see that she is wearing that locket.
And I do set my thing because it's very familiar.
Can you please roll inner conflict for me? Mark XP and roll inner conflict for me.
That's nice of you to try to make that seem better. Okay, so I am here. I'm at my workplace, right? So what would I be? I am probably working in mostly. I don't want to screw this up. So fear.
Okay.
So that's 2d6 plus 1. So that's a 9. Not too bad.
Okay. So you can kind of make it clear that she's managed to get you to run.
Yeah,
You
I
can
think
mark.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that. I will like sort of stuff the last bit of a sandwich in my mouth, like I'm a little chipmunky, and I'll go and wave and go.
You give her the satisfaction.
Exactly. I'm kind of kicking myself, but I just could feel myself getting a little crazy.
Marrow.
Must be at a place of power.
Yes.
Hold on.
Okay. Yes. Was it something you were going to do?
No.
Okay.
Nope. I'm gonna learn. I gotta teach them a song about the quadratic equation. That's what I'm gonna do.
So that they sing it to her.
She substitutes for them next.
Marrow. What scene would you like to call with an NPC or a PC?
Okay. I think that Marrow, kind of to make ends meet, or how he gets his daily bread, is he's a bit of a hustler. goes out and does a bunch of different things. Sometimes he'll go and he'll run a little tour for the basilica that's there in the city. He other times he will do little tours over at the Battleship Museum if they'll let him get away with it. But one of the things he does is also he picks up a couple of shifts at the original Oyster House, which is a restaurant. And why he likes it specifically is his favorite thing to do to make a little ends meet is mudlarking. And so they'll let him park there and go back up the river from beyond it to go mudlarking and see if he can find things to sell or keep or whatever. And I think that I would like to ask Aldo, although I was planning to go up the river and kind of do some mudlarking. Would you like to come?
Yeah, that sounds excellent.
Wonderful. And if I'm permitted, Lowell, I think I have a very beat up motorcycle with a sidecar.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That sidecar is mine, by the way, in my heart.
Well, hopefully Lily won't mind too much if you ride in it. Although as we head across the bridge into the bay to park at the Oyster House and begin moving up the river.
There is that mix of industrial waste and people fishing, along there, and as you kind of make your way along, these are the kinds of places that do bleed over a bit as you go on. Do you think you're trying to find some stuff to make some money, or are you trying to see if there's anything interesting in the undertow around here or something else?
Little column A, little column B. I do have a bag so that if we see crawfish, I can grab them because then when I go back by the restaurant, I can sell them off there. I'm also, I've got my stick with its scoop, and the other side of it has a pretty heavy magnet that I can go and dig in the mud. But as we're kind of traveling up there, I'm like, Aldo, you wouldn't believe what you find here in the river. I mean, I found old coins. I found cannonballs. One time I even found a Confederate belt buckle. I got a bunch for that.
Nice. All I ever find is, beer cans and discarded lighters and condoms.
There's a lot of those too. And occasionally I will cheat.
What do you mean cheat?
The veil's pretty thin around here. And if I'm feeling something particularly interesting, I may try to reach through, see what I find.
It's I mean, that's probably safe, I guess.
It's safer than some things, yes.
You can see all those hair stand on end, like at the mention of doing this.
I mean, it does have some inherent dangers. That's why I wouldn't like to do it completely alone most of the time.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's you probably should have somebody with you. Okay.
What do you
Is
want
there
to roll?
something you'd
Oh.
like?
Sorry, what?
Is there something you'd like?
Uh, no. No, can't think of anything. Just, I I'll I'll just I'll just I'm just here in case something happens. Or and keep a lookout for goblins, because this is the kind of place those guys hang out.
It's true. Well, thank you. And you notice that I like pull a couple of things out of my pockets and I set them around near where the kind of the edge of where there's a little more solid ground and that kind of tough, muddy area gets. And I begin kind of under my breath. It's like a little tune, maybe. Because again, from lanterns, there's a ritual aspect to kind of a lot of what I do. And then you see me kind of reach forward towards the bud and start spreading it out. I suppose this will be me rolling. Well,
Yeah. What do you want to roll that
um,
with?
I'm going to roll that. I'm going to roll that with calm.
Okay.
All right. Oh, well. That's a 6.
Okay. Do you want to burn a bond, or Aldo, if you have a bond with Marrow, you can burn that to assist
I
them?
do. I have a bond with
Okay.
Marrow.
Thank you. So with a 7 to 9, I get a 2 pig.
Okay.
It's not fleeting, and it doesn't create a danger.
Okay.
Let's be safe
Sure.
on our
Absolutely.
first one.
So what is it kind of that you wanted?
I'm thinking of something I want to, in a way, I'm wanting to impress Aldo, and I'm thinking something old that was lost and be finding it, bringing it back. So some little historical memento, some little thing that was maybe precious to someone and lost in the waters, and it made its way into the undertow.
Absolutely. So I think that you will reach in and you will pull out a a, a jar with a kind of a one of those like lockdown mason jar style stoppers on the top. Has a very old label on it that's faded, but the jar is filled with cut nails, old cut nails, like clearly somebody later on collected them and put them in here because they're different shapes and sizes of them, and some of them a little more rusted than others. But you know, it's a little old style. The jar itself is old style mason jar. One of the local brand, and the nails are old.
I pull it up. Well, you never know exactly what you might get, but there's probably an antique store that might be interested in this.
Yeah, my grandma had a jar like that, I think. So It's probably pretty old.
Do you ever move towards the undertow?
Um, n- Not on purpose.
I I never felt like it's truly left me. There are things, there are beings that they're just right there. I know I can touch them. It's never far away.
That's if it was me, that would be terrifying. I don't know how it is for you.
I'm not scared. I mean, I'm not stupid, but I'm not scared.
Do you want to go back?
No. Oh, absolutely not. No. But stealing a little bit from them, that feels right. They took so much. I deserve to get a little bit back.
That makes sense. Yeah. I if I could, kill some of them and keep bringing them back and killing them over and over, I'd probably do that too.
I'll be honest, that kind of scares me. And I sort of smile and lean in towards you. Oh, crawfish!
Eh.
As I reach down and grab a crawfish and shove it in my bag.
Excellent. Uh, Aldo, what scene would you like to call?
Well, I actually wanted to call a scene with Marrow, so maybe it's just a continuation of this.
Sure.
Um, because yeah, I have this news. Um, so I was talking to somebody this morning, and they told me this is something that might mean more to Mr. Suit, but um, apparently, what is the name of this? Rodrigo. There we go. Yes. So apparently, Rodrigo and the rest of the five had some kind of fight, and they're hunting him now. And I don't know
Rodrigo,
what that means for us, but it can't be good. Yeah,
everything I've heard tell is that it's best not to mess with them at all.
yeah.
Do you think that that could have something to do with the prediction?
That's what I was wondering about. I mean, I don't know what the connection is, but it seems like there probably is one. Or if there isn't, we have a whole other thing to worry about. So I kind of hope there is one.
It seems to me like they, I mean, they're unbelievably powerful and old and kind of squash any of us if they needed to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things like I feel like we need to know it and all, but I don't know what I don't know how it would change what we do, because it doesn't matter what we do.
Maybe we could. Where did you hear this?
Just a no acquaintance.
One of us?
No, adjacent.
Oh,
They don't
suppose
want to be
you could
named.
push it up the line and tell someone in the courts.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if they don't already know, but yeah, probably ought to, just to make
The way they
sure.
find things out is usually us telling them, I guess. You're not
Yeah,
suggesting that we go and look into these people.
I don't know what I'm suggesting. I don't know enough to know what I'm suggesting.
Well, maybe when we get everybody together, you could tell them, but yeah, then we could each, I mean, you and I could, or you could tell the Baron. She would
Yeah,
probably appreciate knowing, and maybe Suit and Lily could let their Barons know.
yeah. Uh, that is a very sensible thing to do.
If we had to look into it ourselves, well, it just sounds very dangerous.
Yeah. Um, it all that's the thing is I don't know enough to know what any of it means for us. Uh, but it seems like something that might be connected. So yeah,
We
we
should
should.
talk to the others. It's seems like a whole lot of mess going on all at once.
Yeah, it's all over our heads. That's the problem. It's so far over our heads that I don't. It's funny, it was like a warning, but it wasn't a warning not to do something or to do something. It was just a warning. This is a thing out there.
Sounds like your friend was saying, keep your head down.
Probably, but I don't think I can put it up high enough for it to matter.
Well, you might be right. Well, let's head back. Hey, I'll buy you lunch. We could use my employee discount.
Yeah, yeah, sounds good. How many crawfish you got there?
Eh, about 3 dozen.
Hold on a minute. And I like go over to higher ground, like take off my clothes and hang them in a tree and transform to a coyote. And like I should probably roll for that, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Where's my oh that's right. This there isn't the set thing to roll. Do I not have it? Oop. There it is. Sorry, I did the sherry thing there.
Okay. rolled before closed it.
Yes.
I'm glad
I
it's a
think
name for it now, the sherry thing.
yeah. Uh, let's see. The process of turning into a coyote and hunting crawfish is not a thing I have huge feelings about. Uh, no, this is like a fun distraction. It's joy.
Okay.
Oh, no, wait, that's 0.
Yeah.
7.
You'll definitely be able to use that coyote form to gather, snuffle, get a bunch more. For Mara's benefit, what's the thing that when he looks at you in your coyote form that at this moment, this particular transformation, like tells him that this is not an ordinary coyote?
My eyes don't change.
Oh,
Like
Ooh,
it's
I
not the
love
the
that.
yellowish, canine eyes. It's just like very normal human eyes looking out of the face of this coyote.
freaky.
Oh, that's cool. Well, what is the process for making bonds?
Process for making bonds is uh support. Um, on a 10 plus, you can gain bonds on
Okay,
support.
so that's our only means.
That's the only means that we have right now. Like as a mechanical thing, we're also trying to heal. We could also do that as a reward for RP scenes, things like that. If we wanted to do that, that kind of thing.
Did this feel like we bonded?
Yeah, that feels like you spent a good deal of time talking. So one of you may take a bond.
You
Do you want
spent
the
yours, so
bond?
you could get it back.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're going to cut forward a little bit. We'll assume that through various means you do pass that up through the pipeline, goes up, and you will find yourselves about a week later invited, the 4 of you, to a meeting. This comes through your court channels for the 4 of you to meet middle of the afternoon at a Jack's restaurant there, family dining in Alabama and
Jacks,
Mississippi.
we can get shakes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And when the 4 of you show up with the promise of free food, I mean, that's always when you're invited to meetings like this, that they will be picking up the tab. When the 4 of you arrive, you will be surprised to see that the hands from each of the courts are there.
Oh,
And they sit you, they've got one of the big round tables at the back, and they've seated themselves there. They've already been pouring coffee. It's 99 in Alabama. I don't know if they've got indoor smoking bans or not yet. If not, they're back in the smoking section. And you'll be kind of gestured to sit there. I think it is Drummond Kane that kind of stands up and gestures the 4 of you over.
mhm. So we can't sneak back out?
Yeah. And so it is Drummond, Delulu, who we saw on screen earlier with Mr.
Mhm.
Suit. Of course, Cantorian Wolf, who was singing
Yes,
the
I
last time we
know.
saw him.
You just got started and then
Yeah.
I was interrupted by this here. I'm still sad about that.
And Bayman, who kind of very stiff as a board, seated there, kind of listening in. And there's a pause there for a bit, and then Cantorian Wolf will go to speak. He'll say, so we called the four of you here. In part, thanks to Mr. Suit's enthusiasm.
We all look at Mr. Suit with confusion.
Mr. Suit looks straightforward. There's no reaction.
So we have an offer to make to the four of you. Essentially, to put a task in your hands that'll clear your service to the courts for the first quarter.
That's a lot of service.
So we have not been sitting on our claws. We have been looking into matters, asking about things, looking for significant things that might tell us more about what's coming, what's going on, what that means. I'll be very upfront that our oracle is a channel and not a great tool of analysis. And as such, we don't have much. But we do have a weird thing that happened a while back that has popped up a couple of times in the casting of the bones, the drawing of the cards, those kinds of things. And when something recurs, we tend to ascribe some significance to it, if you take my meaning.
Sure.
So you all came here early 98, right? Yeah, y'all been
Yes.
here.
Yes, sir.
Was the year on the calendar?
So you were here, we got the skirting edge of that hurricane this year. We saw a lot of rain come down, a lot of washouts, some damage, things like that. Of course, didn't make landfall.
I think Mr. Suit shivers visibly when he mentions the hurricane.
There was a hurricane back the year before, back in 97, Hurricane Danny. And I think that Mr. Suit, that's your hurricane. Is that fair? Does that feel timeline-wise work for you?
For
the hurricane that took you?
Oh, no, that was 1969. That was
Okay, so you're very, very early on that. So
yeah.
just another hurricane. Says that hit us a little harder. Still wasn't landfall, but a lot of rain, a lot of washout. Things went missing. There was another crew like yourselves, not bonded by court, not bonded by kind. And when Hurricane Danny hit, they went missing.
Hmm.
The storms here, they take things sometimes. People.
Yeah. And we had almost 4 feet of rain with Danny. It was pretty bad. People talked about it, looked around, in the aftermath, but it was a just a few months later that we had some boats from one of the press gangers, the Shanghais, the Chainers, you know, the little scouting expeditions that the takers make, not for us, but for others that came in and made some noise for us. And so people kind of forgot. I know it sounds callous, but this was a crew that kind of kept to themselves. They were members of the courts, but they kind of isolated themselves, particularly in that period before Danny hit, in that first 6 months of the year.
I think I've reached underneath the table and kind of patted Mr. Suit's hand, knowing that this is all kind of triggering.
We know that there's some rumors that they had some interactions with the witches, which is not great. And there's another rumor that they had some tie or had worked with or had contacted one of the five, one of the immortals. Again, this is all rumor and hearsay in the aftermath of this. We want you to figure out what happened to them. Where were they leading up to that? Did they get dragged back into the undertow? Did they go into hiding? Did they get killed? Did they kill each other? We want you to find out. And at that point, Delulu will kind of lean forward and she'll say, so we'll be providing you with a little set of papers once we go down to Kinko's. And we've got some information, but basically there are four of them. The person named Count_0. They were with lanterns. There was Lub Daniels, who's with mirrors. He was a pledge lackadaisy. If you can imagine a professional beach bum.
Oh, that sounds fun.
You can imagine what it's like interacting with a professional beach bum, then it is like having sand in your shoes constantly. But anyway, there was Sanguinius from Broken Shackles. She was a Black Score beloved. And there was the Widow Macton, also from Broken Shackles, who was a solacing unmade. But we'll get you all those details. We will give you a little walking around money for expenses, getting around, gas, that kind of thing. Imagine it a little bit like a PI kind of thing.
Okay.
Now, you may say that you are on court business, but do not say this is connected to what was said at the meeting. You're not the only people who've been set to tasks, but you're the only group that has been set to a task. And certainly we appreciate your volunteering to help with this. And again, she gestures at Mr. Suit.
And I look at Mr. Suit with like a
And how are these storm lost connected to the prophecy?
As I said, the signs and markings for them have popped up in the rough and wild divinations and callings and things that we have been running through trying to get any kind of handle, grip on what's coming. So we don't know. We don't know how they're connected. We don't know why they're connected.
And what you want is information,
Yep.
right? Should we find out anything, we're not expected to go like get them.
Not at this time. I will say this, if they've been taken back to the homelands, that is never, we'll make that absolutely clear. She'll say, I am made of madness, but I would, I know we do not send people through the deeps. If they're somewhere in the shallows or the shoals or on one of the islands in the close waters, that's a different story. But that's also something we would not send you unprepared into. You're not enforcers, you're investigators. Now, is that something that all of you think you're willing to undertake?
I think if I went missing, I would want someone to come look for me.
Too.
Good. Then order whatever you want off the menu.
All right.
So
And-
easily pleased.
Yeah, and they say, and they do a pretty good doggy bag. So feel free to over order.
We'd said no, it was breadsticks and water.
So I think that's where we're going to stop.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Because we've got about 30 minutes left. I think that's a good place for us to kind of break to kind of come. I will get the names and details and have them for you
Mhm.
so that you don't have to write them down. They'll be in the keeper. And this is the thing you can undertake on the side of other things that you want to do, entanglements, all that stuff. But does this seem like an interesting task?
Yes, our own
Yes.
very special personal punishment.
Yes. All right. So let's do end of session. Go to situational moves. So Mr. Suit, did you express your yokai self?
I think so. It was in that, like, how he really just wanted to get drunk and had such a hard time acting out of place.
Absolutely. Point for that. And I think your reaction there at the end is an expression of your humanity. Did you interact with either your anyone from your entanglements or your rival?
I don't think so. I am
Okay.
curious to hear about Curie of Hervain in the future.
Okay.
But that didn't come around this time.
We'll make sure we lean into that next time. So 2 XP. Sherry, did you express
Yes.
your yokai self?
I think that I would, well, I don't know. I think of her as being like she tries everything. She likes doing all the things. So yeah, I think
Okay.
that's it. She doesn't know who she is, so she's trying all the things and she's excited by all of them because that might be it.
Yeah. Your humanity?
think I think that fraught scene in the teacher's lounge
Yeah.
had a certain amount of even though it was two yokai, it was very
Human.
human.
Yep. So another point for that. And of course, because I interacted with your rival there, it's another point. So 3 points.
Okay.
Marrow, did you express your other self?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay.
Opening up into the undertow and kind
Yeah.
of having that discussion with Aldo about the undertow.
Did you express your humanity?
I think in kind of at least partially a description, but also in the kind of how to live.
Mhm.
Doing this is a part of keeping bread on the plate,
Yeah,
sort of thing, and that's very
absolutely.
human.
Did you interact with anyone from your entanglements or your
I
rival?
don't think I did.
Okay. So 2 points.
Nope.
Aldo, did you express your yokai self?
Yeah.
Okay. I definitely saw your coyote self there, so I
Yeah.
did that on screen. So I think that's worth a point. Did you express your humanity?
Yes, but I probably need to explain how.
Okay.
So there's a question on my playbook is like, how do you hold on to your humanity? And my answer to that is language.
Mhm.
Like I think during the entire time that like he was, a coyote, uh, he would just like say words in his head. It didn't matter what the words were, just like,
Mhm.
Recite bits of poems, old commercials he'd heard, just whatever. Um, and I think like he still does that. So that's what the whole dictionary thing was about.
Okay.
Mm.
Excellent. And did you interact with anyone from your entanglements or your rival?
Not my rival. I have not mentioned the goblins, but didn't see him. Oh, Marrow's in my entanglement. So yeah.
Okay. So 3 points. So quick stars, wishes. Come back to Mr. Suit here.
Yes. Stars. So Sherry, I swear Lydia has her own like live studio audience. She is just like every time you have a scene with her, I'm imagining more of those like the twisted like plastic braid chokers and like too many little butterfly clips in her hair and an inexplicable amount of glitter and weird holographic mini skirts, and it's just like she could be played by Jenna Elfman. It's so insane. Everything you do is just so over the top with her, and I'm loving her so far.
Nice.
um Tyler, I love that even though Marrow is this like very meek character that we've seen so far, you had that moment of like, hey, do you want to go running over to the dangerous otherworld and like steal some expensive shit from people that are way more powerful than us? It seems like they deserve it. I think they deserve it. It was just a very unexpected like, I'm gonna go do action and crimes from Marrow. um Ethan, it was the creepy human eyes in a coyote. That was horrible.
Yeah, it was great.
And Lowell, whatever you had set up that we were like rolling on and figuring out some random city events that were very like supernaturally important and some that were very just like mundanely interesting or weird. Like it was very cool and
Yeah.
gave a neat feel to things.
So for any of you who wish that I've created
Hey.
a chart and deck of modern urban fantasy city events,
Ooh.
soon available on Drive-Thru RPG, as well as a table
Hey,
in both
hey.
PDF and PNP play versions. Good. I'm glad you dug that. I love doing those kind of generative, like fill in some recent history things.
No, it was a cool moment.
Anything wishes wise?
Oh, yeah, I guess I'm curious to figure out some more about Mr. Suit's history and some more like hurricane related stuff with him, since this is very much coming to the fore quickly.
Yeah. You've got
So
that
so like I wanna
wonderful politically important. You're going to be investigating and talking with people. So let's make sure we get some of those moves that you have out on the table. Sherry?
Okay, I know that this isn't what we usually do. Usually talk about what you're thinking about in the future. And so, I mean, you talk about how good everyone is, and you know, we're all fabulous. So there's plenty to talk about, and I'm going to get to it. So don't you worry. But before I forget, I just want to say what I'm looking forward to next time is having a chance to speak to my mentor about how I go about becoming an excellent detective, because that's what I've been called to do now. In what would be the proper wardrobe for said thing. So these are important considerations that will be first and foremost for me. Okay. Let's see here. I do think that this was some dynamite play. Again, Morrow, for being so meek seeming, being so retiring, is also the one that sticks his hand into all the scary holes. It's just like, yikes. So I just, yes. Also, I love the idea of the sidecar. And I do think that you do have that problem of when you're around and Lily's like, she's always like, can we go for a ride? I would like, yes. Very much. I loved Eldo's dictionary read. I was like, oh, what a great way to, like, after you're a little freaked out, to kind of calm yourself down. I didn't even know that language was your thing. I just thought it was a really cool thing. And then when you say, oh no, language is what keeps your sanity, your humanity, that is really cool idea. And Mr. Suit is amazing for, how should we say, trying to cautiously fill out the territory and get himself and us into all kinds of complicated situations. Well done. It's like, because
You're
you're the
welcome.
main character in whatever scene you're in, it's just stuff is going to happen and we can't help it. We have to go along. We are your supporting cast. I think that's what it is. I really like that. Well, it was fun. I did like the coming up with the different ideas, but you also just kind of gave us some really good room to kind of build the thing. I liked building the building that we're in, and that sort of thing. I think that was fun. It's great. So, yeah, that's a good part of it. I love playing with all of you, and I'm gonna learn how to be the best detective there ever was. I will have the tropes all day, don't you? I'm here for you.
Awesome. Morrow.
I thought this was excellent. I think overall the game and how much there is in the build of world and character and court has made it really easy to have these characters get rolling and be real. I think all of us are already starting to kind of grasp what these characters are like, and it's because you've given a solid structure of of how we built everything so we could slot ourselves in. We have our own buy-in because we helped build it, and I think that's it's a very quick and well integrated startup, and I think that's very nice. I also like the random roll. I love a random roll.
Yeah.
Sherry, as as heard before, amazed. I love the character. It is so delightful. But that on the balcony, saying hi to people walking by, and then the little, shut the fuck up. No, I've got to work. Oh, what do you do? It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Just the upbeat inquisitiveness, the wanting to be a part of people's lives is so delightful. I love the character. Patrick, there was something really heart-wrenching and sad about the discipline of the one sip. The sitting there with these people, playing poker, or being a part of that, and this is clearly you're playing to the PTSD of that is there in that is a big part of this game, but we're getting a good sense of that early on from your character, and it really is. It's touching. It's strong. Just really good. I really enjoyed that. Ethan, my lantern mate, the two of us going out, I was so happy we went out together to do stuff. Our interactions, I can't imagine anybody hanging with us would say, boy, what an exciting crew. We're sort of downbeat folk. But it worked so well with us. I just it really was very natural. The two of them as a duo doing things feels like it feels like we do stuff together a lot. I can see where we hang. And that was nice. And the openness of our conversation, it was, it felt clear that we trust each other, we know each other, we're willing to open up our thoughts on things deeper than how's the weather. And that was really great. Sometimes it takes a while to figure out where characters hook together, but I could see the relationship between ours really early on, and that's nice. That's really cool. As for wishes, I kind of want to know what Songbird Rex means to me. Why I ask Aldo to protect them, where our connection is. So maybe some interaction with Songbird Rex to help develop that. And I don't need to know why, but I really think having Wisdom Wales be mean to me.
Okay.
Something I kind of want. I want periodic just for some reason, because I think I'm a likable guy. I think everybody sort of likes me. I'm easy to get. I'm maybe not easy to like, but I'm hard to dislike. And for some reason, Wales just hates me. And so seeing the result of that is it's something I want even more than knowing right now why.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put in the mean yokai. Aldo.
Yeah, I like how we got to know these characters a lot this session, and in a way that like just sort of seeing them do their thing alone or separately, or alone or together. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Like I don't know. I feel like a lot. I feel like more was revealed just in this, like going about the day-to-day life, than the like interaction with a ton of other people. Like I get these characters now, I think. Maybe not. but if I don't, then it'll be like the cool surprise. Yeah, I like the idea of Lily as substitute middle school teacher. With like,
that was amazing.
This is the kind of teacher that the kids complain that the teacher is too chaotic.
Yeah.
I love it. I want to see more of that. And I also really like the scene, that whole interaction with Marrow, and like, yes, it totally makes sense that these two characters would hang out together, because they're both kind of they are the outward, like, to all outward appearances, they are the boring ones. Like, keep to themselves. So it makes sense that they would like, yeah, they would hang out with the other person who understands. So that's fun. And just that idea of like, oh, I go up the river and then I like reach into the undertow and retrieve things. It's just such an unexpected and yet awesome activity to do. And I thank you, Patrick, for getting us all into trouble. Excellent.
No
Because
problem.
I was kind of floundering around. It's like, what do we do here? There's a lot of like hooks, but there's no obvious next goal, I guess. There's a lot of, NPCs that we have relationships with. Speaking of which, I guess that's my wish, is that I would also like to see more of these NPCs that we have entanglements and rivalries with. Just because I would like to see, noodling into the undertow.
Yeah.
Yes. I because I think a lot of these entanglements and stuff are bring up more questions than answers. So I'd like to see some of those become a little bit more concrete so that we can use each other's entanglements, I guess, in the future.
Excellent. I think that's certainly a super fair request. Thank you all very much. I'm going to stop the recording.